My grandson. Mars and I are out traveling, and so I am connecting from the West Coast today, and I are out traveling, and so I am connecting from the West Coast today, and I am connecting from the West Coast today, and we're going to be talking, continuing a series that I'm doing for about 6 weeks with a gentleman when we're working with some of the coaching tools. And so this morning he's going to log in and we're going to connect and see how his progress is going, see how he's doing with using these tools in real life. And we'll go through the steps again because we're talking about healing, learning how to think differently about our lives so that it helps us undo the things in our life that contribute in travel, gain and increase our capacity to set. There are interesting. Good morning. You're off for you. Not you. Yeah. And go. I will wait. Right. Get connecting in. See if I can look up where you're home or way that so. Audio. So that's so
Yeah, you freeze it up on my end.
on your.
Yeah, I can't even hear you.
Are you hearing me now?
It's better now. Yeah,
Let's see.
and I lost you again.
It's fine. How am I? As far as
Okay, now it's much better.
much better. Am I stable now?
Yeah.
Stable enough to have a conversation.
Yes. There you go. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I must be in a good signal spot. How are you this morning?
I'm living the dream. How are you? Thank you for asking.
I'm doing good. I'm traveling this week. Wasn't quite planned until last minute, but I'm in California. This is one of those dream come trues where you have children that get old and then they have children. I want there to be a day where my kids call and say, "Mommy, I send you a ticket. Would you and like watch your grandchildren like play?" And that call came last weekend, and I said, "Oh, travel," and so I headed out of Ecuador and headed into Atlanta, where I met up with my daughter and my youngest grandson, and then we traveled all day yesterday to California and some commitments that she's working that passed away several years ago, and so my uncle, who's older, is out the homestead, and my daughter had offered, so I'm out playing with my grandson, supporting her as she supports him, because better her than me, because this is much more her lane than my lane, but I'm here um, in the process. So I'm,
Right.
I'm, I'm grandma blanket in babysitter mode. So you may hear my grandson today because he's up and we found a tambourine yesterday. So this is the ordering of my priorities. My first priority is my grandma blanket duties. If I can do
Exactly. For
anything
sure.
else at the same time, then so
Right.
be it. But you may hear my that's the give apologies. I ain't got no apology to give. Keeping my priorities straight is like top priority in life. Like, what are your priorities?
Right. What are your value? What's
Play with my
exactly
grand
no.
top priority.
Exactly how we be talking. What are your values? And you got to stick to your values and your truth and be authentically you. And that's the only thing you can do because you cannot control
Yeah,
anyone else. So, and you wouldn't want to because again, if you tried to, that would be going against your values and that would be harming you.
exactly. And this is like, what does that look like in real life, though, Lorana? It looks like my grandson and supporting them in this is my top priority. However, I can at the same time be committed to working with you on these skills. But me is there may be some tambourine. He may come in here
Exactly.
and be talking to me and I have to respond. And it's like ordering that and not feeling guilty
Guilty
and
about it.
not making it's
Exactly.
California. It's before 5 o'clock in the morning time because even though I live in Ecuador, so we're up, and it's like, oh, him because he wants my time, and I want to give my time. No, that looked like it looked like else's time they get interrupted because they top priority, and it gives others the opportunity to like good people. He may be That's fine. That's fine. And what that means, even though I'd like to give my time in this way, I hit person with his preferences and well the time, in this way
Right.
at this time, because if we made this commitment, there was no travel for me. Life priorities flow through my life, and it's learning. Grandson come in here talking that talk at he's 2 years old. Most of the time, it's just like, okay.
We're losing parts of you again. Yeah, your
Yes,
audio is lagging.
grandmother. These had candy. All right.
Your audio
So
is
that's
lagging.
my discipline. That's life. Tell me about your life. Tell me how this has been played. This
Your
brought
audio is
up
lagging.
as you've gone through this week. Hmm.
Your audio is lagging.
Say again.
Your audio is lagging again.
Okay. It's probably just my location. Let's see. Are we getting steady?
Yeah, that was steady again.
Okay. So tell me, give me some input on how this is interplayed with your life and what that's brought up for you this
Oh
week.
man, yeah, it's dope. I'm gonna tell you exactly. Okay, so off of what me and you been going on, right? That gave me a basis, right? And then I saw a video the other day, right? Of these people trying to do an interview, a live, and they're obviously doing a live. And so the interviewer asked the guy, like, he's like, "You see that, man? They see we doing the interview, blah 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 blah," right? And so the guy's response is, "Why attribute malice where you could just attribute incompetence? Everybody has the same thing going on in their life that you got going on in your life. There's 7 billion different realities being played out on the same planet. Just excuse people when their behavior does not match up with yours." Then I was like, okay. Then you put that with Lorana's on top of that. I can't control anyone's behavior because again, that would go against my value system and that would be adding trauma to me. So, okay, now this is how you evaluate things. Okay, something hurt me. Okay, cool. I get it. That hurt. I'm not going to evaluate it from the point of the hurt. I'm going to evaluate it from the point of the facts of the situation. Okay, do I value this human being enough to continue? Because this has already happened once. So now I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out if it will or won't happen again. It happened once. More than likely it will happen again. Now, do I value this relationship with this person enough to sacrifice my value system to continue to receive this hurt? And this is the type of ways is how you value relationships with people. And this is how you move, continuing with love, because you don't look at their behavior as, oh, they did that out of a place of malice. You look at it as though they just don't know. And I can't blame them from not knowing, but I also do not have the right to try to change their behavior because that would hurt me. And that would bring damage upon them if they're not ready to receive that information and do that work for themselves. So the best way to move in life is just move from a place of love. And so if I hurt a person's feelings and it's something I value enough to apologize and try to make it right and try to make amends, cool. If not, you can feel however the heck you feel about it. I don't care. I know I did it from a place of love, and it ain't nothing against me. It's not an attack. I don't have to feel like it's an attack. I don't have to be triggered by it because I know who I am as a human being and I know how I want to move and the way I'm moving.
That is a beautiful representation of it. I know the video that you're talking about, and it's like Instead of going through life trying to read other people's minds and intentions, assume that they're doing the best they can. They in their own little
Right.
world. You
Exactly.
know, they are doing the
Yeah.
best they like. I don't care what it looks like. They are still doing the best they can. That's what their best is right there, right then in that moment.
Exactly.
Is it
Exactly.
loving? I don't know. It
No.
doesn't feel loving to me, but this is their best. And so if someone's giving me the best that they're capable of, because we know differently. I was talking with someone this week and I was saying the quote that people use by Maya Angelou, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, you do better. And I said, that ain't true. That's not true. We know better.
Right.
It's not an automatic that knowing better lets you do better, because what stops us is the ego stuff that we pick up, our damage.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
even though we know better, we do the best we
We
can. What
can.
I see, oh, it wasn't loving. Okay, that's as much love as they could put into it. That is
Right.
their best in that moment.
Right.
Other situations, other people, other triggers or lack of lets them have a capacity to do differently. There's certain people that your capacity is greater because of relationship commitment. I would have a much greater tolerance for interacting with, for instance, my children
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
ways that
Exactly.
don't align with
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
values.
Because there's just certain people in your
My
life,
daughter,
you value their relationship enough to sacrifice your values that don't align with their values. Because everybody has
and
their
this is
own
in real
value system.
ways.
Wait,
Yeah.
like how you
The
said.
real life ways,
Go ahead.
in real life ways, like some of the real life things happening in my week, I have that, and it's really affordable. In planning, you you know you ain't gonna feel so good. Like your joint's gonna be hurting, like literally within a couple days. You need to be extra mindful of what you're eating because you don't have access in the same way, you know? Part of that is in doing this trip, it's going to compromise some of my values. I understand that. And knowing it in advance means I buy into the consequences, the losses, because things conflict with my value system. Rest. I'm on the crave food. And so I have to make choices. And we live life where we will have things that conflict. And so we don't avoid that sometimes, but it's owning every choice in life, or as many choices as we can own, to say, I made this choice. And so that
Right.
means I accept the consequences also. And that includes interacting with people who got issues. If I choose to interact with people in life who have issues, I accept a certain level of damage that happens with people who do not mirror in life. And so it's just having the awareness so that I can own life more fully, so that I can be more responsible for the life that I live. I'm making choices consciously. This is the awakeness that I think people talk about but don't really understand. I am consciously aware of so many more decisions in my life where
Right.
I make them saying, I'm choosing this option for my behavior, for my words, for my life. And
Yeah.
that feels powerful to me. That feels like freedom because I'm not then just a reactive
Sure.
pawn in this
Yeah.
thing called life.
Right. Because there's a difference between a reaction and a response. See, a response, I'm choosing that response. I thought about that. I evaluated the situation and I chose to say this, and I'm okay with the consequences of saying this to you. Like, I'm okay. I'm going to go to sleep and sleep well. You know what I mean? Like, I said what I said and I
Right.
meant it. So I can go to sleep, and whatever the consequence is, I'm okay with it because I chose that. I did not react to what you did or what you said. And that's a great way
Right.
of living, because now you're like, people, all these people talk about autonomy, right? And I'm an individual person and all that. But most people are not, because most people are reacting to situations in life and not responding to situations in life. So you're not an individual person until you are a person who every time, in every situation, you are making a active choice. And there is sometimes where you lay back and you allow other people to make choices that at that moment, you are not an individual. You are codependent to that person in that relationship. Every situation you have to make. And I remember when you said that to me, you told me that I did not make the decision. I allowed her to make the decision. And I didn't understand that in that moment, but I do now. I do understand it. If I do not shut that relationship down, once I am hurt and I say I am done and I am out. If I leave that door open for that person to still be there, I never made that decision. I make the decision the moment I say this relationship is over with and I no longer value spending time with you. At that moment, I made a choice and I am accepting the consequences of that choice because I am telling them I don't want to be around you no more. That's a choice. But if,
That's the flip side when because what you're talking about, even though you're talking about a specific incident, if you broaden that up, pull
Mhm.
back your vision and your perspective on that, what you're talking about is boundaries.
Right.
Boundaries are things I set as
Yes.
barriers for the areas of life where someone else doesn't share my values. Let me give you an example. An example that we all are very familiar with. We have traffic laws. If you get
Hmm.
on the street or the highway, there's dots and lines on the road. They may be
Right.
white lines that are broken lines. They
Hmm.
may be yellow lines, a solid line, or two solid lines. And we have traffic signs, the red sign that says stop, or we have a traffic light with the red, yellow, and green. And there's rules associated with those symbols. If you are traveling in a certain direction, you know that you travel on, if you're in the United States, the right side of the yellow line. If it's a double yellow line, you're not supposed to cross it onto the other side. Because what happens is if the roads are for the purpose of people transporting themselves or things, then what if I don't share the value with you for how to share this road? And so
Right.
what we do is we put rules, we put boundaries. If I'm in this lane, you're not supposed to get in this lane without
Yes.
turning your blinker on, letting me know that you're two car lengths ahead of me and you
Yes.
want to get over, and you're
Right.
supposed to do it within a certain amount of time, one lane at a time. We have these rules. Now, that is the American mindset because we don't share values sometimes on how to respect each other, who goes first. There's
Right.
an order. If you're at a stop sign, a four-way stop sign, there's an order
Order. Right.
because if you don't share that value, then we have to have rules so we keep things in order. Now, I leave the country and I move to a country where those things are slight suggestions. If it is an open spot and the light is red, that's a suggestion only if I can't commingle on this roadside together. And so you see cars. Good morning. You got what? We're not eating candy though this morning, okay? So if you're asking me for candy, the answer is no this morning, okay? Okay, but we're not gonna eat candy this morning. It's not time to eat yet here. It's real early, okay? Bye. Hey, he not happy. He going to tell on me with his mom. Those are suggestions. Those are
Right.
suggestions for people who cannot commingle on this roadway together. And so you see vehicles, there may be a red light. If there's an opportunity for me to go, that red light is just a suggestion if we can't work this out together peacefully. But lane in the middle means nothing. If I want to go around this vehicle and there's space, even though it's coming, there's a whole different mindset. And I have to remind myself these are people learned to work together. The rules are secondary for in case you can't do that well together. In case you can't figure out how to do transport yourself and me on this road together, then we have rules that give us something for when we're in conflict. But we don't need it when we're able to work together. And so I live in a place where I see this being played out. The highways, like there's some Americans I couldn't take down there because they road rages. Um, they use the lanes, the dots make there's 4 lanes, but the people realize that you can get 7 sets of cars going across this span. Wouldn't we do that if our goal is to move people along? Space you need and go. It's chaotic in our mindset, but because they're able to work it out together with no road rage or those kind of things, then the rules, the boundaries are secondary to figure it out. We don't do life in a figured out way because we have so many conflicting values. So we have to have all these rules to govern people, but you only put boundaries up for the situations that conflict with values. If somebody respects your time, you don't have to have a boundary that says this is how you have to treat me.
Right.
You don't have that. They already share that value with you. If they
Exactly.
believe they should be treated with respect and if they should do that to others, then you don't have to have a boundary in place with them. They simply share your value. And so what you're talking about is when values don't align with my life and I know that that is going to potentially cause damage, it's going to cause damage. There's no potential. When someone conflicts with my values and interacts with me in that way, it's going to create damage. When I decide, here's how much damage I'm willing to accept, and sometimes it's none, then we put the boundaries in place for the benefit of others who don't share our values.
Yeah.
When you when you have shared values, oftentimes you don't have to have boundaries in place. People share the values. There's a common connectedness. And thing in society is we don't have that, and so we have to have all these rules. But it means who's responsible for shaping your world? You are. And so we set them so that we can, one, I set the boundaries so that I can be loving to myself, because that's how I take care of me. I can't just let folk come pour damage on me over and over and over and over again. No, I put boundaries because my first job is taking care of me.
Right.
The secondary work is loving others. Now, how do I love others? I don't do it in a sacrificial way anymore. I say, wait a minute, how can I love me and you at the same time?
Yes.
And sometimes, in order for me to love me and you at the same time, I got to put you at a distance.
Yep.
Wall, boundary. Here's the distance. Sometimes it's no contact. Sometimes it's here's how you can. Some people can't call me all times of the day and night. You can't. Boundary. Can't do it.
Right.
And if they do it and I realize they've crossed a boundary, some people don't need to be messaging me at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. But there's some people that can't. Guess who gets to decide which ones? Me.
You. And that's the thing.
And it's about boundaries.
Right. And when you can get and teach enough people to live like that, right? Because now you can lessen your hurt. You don't have to be bitter because, okay, all right, that hurt or whatever, or however it is, however life is if you're moving. Values align or not. Yes, no. And that's how we move. Period. And now that's how I can determine how deep of a relationship I want to cultivate with you, because it's about, do our values align? Yes or no? And protecting myself. And that secondary to that is protecting you as best as I can. Okay, so if those are the 2 things or 3 things that I'm looking at, is this relationship worth cultivating? Yes or no? All right. Yes, that's what it is. No, this one not. This one is to a certain extent. This one is to, okay, maybe we could be business and professional. Okay, we could be friends and hang out, but I wouldn't have you over at my house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how you judge relationships. And you can just love people for where they're at. That's really, and you love yourself all at the same time and never have to be angry or upset or like bitter or none of that. Ain't none of that necessary because you know exactly who people are. You see who they are and you accepting them for who they are, and you know what type of relationship you want with them because who they are and how y'all values align. Period, point blank. No love lost.
To the sustainable community work that I do. Because if we don't fix this part, we gotta do it. If we're going to, get helping people building community, my retired build.
You lost the signal again.
Began to do communicate the same and change the world. We're here to talk about healing, and so it's just like it's a hamster wheel. So let's talk. Let's go through this week. Let's go through your thinking. Let's think what's on your mind that you'd be willing to share, and let's take a scenario and let's walk through the steps. Let's go
Oh,
through so that we leave a little bit lighter. Amen. What you got in
I
life that feels like something
nothing.
that you want to process through, and or make sure that you've processed through.
Nothing actually. I'm good. I know what I'm on. I know what my mission is. I know what I want to do. I understand. Like last night, I just things kind of came to me. I get. I know who the male role model I had in life and who I wanted to emulate. I understand where I need to grow at, and basically, like like I want to work with you, get the certification to heal, and I want to open up a center similar to what you're talking about for healing and sexual exploration. Um, and I just really, like you said, for community, I think this healing work could really teach a lot of people. And like how we had that one conversation, when you add the sex part to it, that is how they can also the transference of energy and like so many different things, how we can, I think this could actually heal the community. So, and I also want to do the sustainable community out of the country and all that. So, I just think it's time to just work towards that and just use the tools that you gave me, really. But like I said, just get the certification is the main thing, so I can really go forth with using this healing process as a business thing. But in my day to day life, I got the tools. You gave me the tools, and I just keep working the system over and over and over again. It's really the thing. I mean, there is nothing else other than that. Really, I'm good. Straight up, I know how to process it.
You brought up a really good point. No, you brought up a really good point because dealing with community, it's going to create solutions. And oftentimes, a short healing spell, and I think that I'll just talk about something. We drugs sex. Uh, ego, you know, it feels good to you. Versus if be some cares
Your audio is lagging.
your own critics.
Your audio and video lagging.
Start in this story versus truth, becoming able to see much more of the truth with others. There's still a lag time, huh?
There you go. Now you back. You back.
Okay. So let's go there. Let's go through then. Let's talk through the steps. Let's talk through the order because this is about reinforcing it so this becomes first nature.
Yeah.
All right, give me step one. Tell me about the step one process, part of the process.
Step one is what's the facts, right? What are the facts of the
Yep.
situation? And then uh step two is what are the feelings, right? Because the feelings are the facts.
So, yep.
Then dang, what is three? Okay, I forgot three. What's three?
All right. So we got facts, feelings. Now we go to analysis. Time for us to be on a process of analysis. What are the values? Because once we know what they are, we're putting facts. Next, we set values that were we have to born I dis. Then what are the laws? And then respect to our once we're to our then we go back and we're confusion. Sit back. That is all that in table and have that moment where we then say self from a loving using and does that sound like that you've been in your lifetime? Did my audio catch up? Oh no, was I silent?
It was just lag.
When you say lag, does it just drop out like it goes silent?
No, like it's you're saying stuff, but it's just breaking up. You only get like one word, and you're saying like a whole spiel, and I'm only getting one word of it.
It's part of it's my location and my structure. Hold on, let me put a sweater on. Let's see if I can get a little bit more clear. Bear with me, bear with me. Patience, please. Okay. And the other part is I'm in a house that's got this California Spanish tiles and it's got a metal door. So some of that is probably interference as well. Is that any better?
Yeah, now you can hear you.
Okay. I think that's what it is, building interference. Let me see if I can get a little light. Light. Nope, no light. Okay. All right. So let me go back to the step. Hi, baby. Don't come out. It's cold out here. Okay. So let's go back. You were
Step three. Lost it again. Completely lost you now.
in at that point. It's turning the clock to me. It's turning the mirror back to me and saying, self, what part did you play? What were your responses?
Okay, so okay, all right, go back to three again. So
Okay.
number one is the facts, right? Number
Mm-hmm.
two is the feelings. Number three is
Mm-hmm.
what?
Values.
Values. Okay, do the
What were the
values
values
align
demonstrated by you? What were the values demonstrated by
by
me?
them?
Which of those values is out of alignment?
Alignment, right? Okay, and then number four is what did I do in that
Well,
situation?
before we do that is losses. What were the
Okay, the
losses that I
losses.
suffered?
Okay, so okay,
Then
so
it was, what did I do? What was my response behavior?
okay, so
How did I respond?
so it's facts, feelings, values, losses, and then what did I do?
Uh-huh. And then and then once you've determined my behavior, here's my responses. I go back and I do the analysis again. What were the values on my behavior? What were the values associated with my behavior? What values did I conflict in my own behavior, or which values were in alignment in my behavior? Go put your shirt on,
Okay,
baby. Go put your shirt on. Oh. And then what were the losses based on my behavior or my conflictions with my
right,
values?
right.
Sometimes my behavior is right on spot with my values. I stand behind it. No loss. No loss. None. No confliction. I acted according to my values, which means in this situation, then my values weren't part of the trauma. My values weren't part of it. Sometimes I realize my value confliction was part of the problem. The
Right.
other person may not have traumatized me. I traumatized myself.
So, and I had to
And
realize
then,
that as well.
yeah. And then we sit back. And at that point, once you have that information, all of that, those steps of information, then we do the processing. We do the analysis. Self, looking at all these facts now, all these details, this data. Now, talk to myself in the most loving voice I can. Self, now what do we see? What do I see about me?
Right.
What do I see about this situation?
Right. And what do I see about life and in general? And how do I
Well,
want to
what am I going to do about
do,
what I see?
see it like?
What am I
Yeah,
going to do about it?
right. How am I
This
going to act?
person.
How am I going to keep myself aligned with my values every day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's from that point, most people want to start doing the processing before they put the details out there. What you processing? What you processing if you ain't got the details? You don't even know how you feel yet, and you processing? That makes sense.
It does not.
It's not the most effective
Effective
route.
way to do it.
Now, it does make sense because if you don't know how you feel, you don't know how this is triggering you, you don't know how this is impacting your life, but you already in reaction mode. Perspective,
Right.
we wonder what are you making your decision based on? Your feelings. Your
Yeah.
feelings. And while your feelings are fact, they aren't always true.
True.
But when we learn to act just on our feelings, we don't bring truth into it. We
Exactly.
don't bring the logic part. This is both sides working. You need to feel it, but you need to then understand how to process those feelings. And we don't do that. We just act. I feel angry, so I treat you like I do with angry people. And then I don't realize I'm damaging myself. I think I'm damaging you, and I probably am, but I'm also
Okay.
damaging me, which
Right.
if we were in our logical mind, we'd say that's counterproductive. So you make me upset, so I drink the poison.
Right. It
I'm
doesn't make
mad
no
at you,
sense.
so I damage myself because I'm mad at you. That's crazy. I'm
Right.
causing trauma to myself.
Right. Why would I ever do that?
In our logical mind, we can see it, but when we're acting in our addicted mindfulness, and I believe trauma is the addiction, then we ain't acting in ways that's logical, and we're doing things that are damaging ourselves, let alone other people. But firstly, we're doing things that damage ourselves.
Exactly. So the best way to avoid the damage is to evaluate the situation from the facts only. And even though the feelings are facts, you
They're
can,
the
but you have
flags
to
on the play
evaluate
of
it
your life.
all. That
Yeah. They
Right.
are the flags on the play of your life if you use them that way. And the more often you can do that before you take the actions, the better you are at being able to make sure that your actions align with your values so that your
Right.
part
With
of
your
life
value
doesn't add more trauma. Your part, the part that you can be
to the world.
responsible for and control.
That right, because that's all you can be responsible for
Isn't
is
it?
your part. So
Isn't it?
since that's
Isn't
all
it?
you can be responsible for, it's
Do the
just being
best.
conscious every day of your part. Exactly.
S-
And doing your best. And
Spend your
once you
energy
have this
on things you can
information, you have
actually
to keep
control,
moving
like
like that.
yourself. hmm hmm
Right.
It's it, it's
That's the
literal.
whole
It's
thing. That's
how
the
do you
whole
do that?
thing.
Literally.
Right. How do
It
I
is simple.
literally control myself every day?
Yeah.
In every interaction that I come across every day, am I in control in every moment?
And sooner, because sometimes when people start with these tools, it's reactive. We're looking at the past. And I'm a
Right.
big proponent of that because if you look at the past, it lets you undo the damage, unweave that damage from your life from the past. So I'm a big proponent of that being a really good starting point. But also, as people begin to learn this, we're trying to create a new first nature. And that's
Right.
why practice makes this muscle memory, emotional muscle memory in your mind, that when something starts happening, this is a thinking pattern that keeps you from going into your addicted mindfulness to think through life. And the more people begin to do that, the more this becomes a part of how they avoid creating trauma in their own life. It
Like,
minimizes it because as you learn to set healthy boundaries, you stop taking in unlimited amounts of trauma from other people because of their
right.
issues. You start putting safe spaces around your life and you start being the influencer in the trauma that you're creating in your own existence. And that's where you progressively get better and better. And that's what the work is because when you start living from that place and life begins to get better and better and you're more and more in control of it, it opens up space for the opposite of trauma in your life. If I'm putting boundaries to keep trauma out, that gives me more space for things that are loving, the interactions that are loving, the interactions that feel good in alignment with my values, not just the feel good like drugs do, you know? It becomes honest, it becomes truthful. And I think that's how we change community. We do it one person at a time, which is slow. It's not the microwave, quick peel, quick fix thing. It takes work. As you see, it takes behavior modification, self. Don't go that route, even though your emotions are trying to lead you there. Don't do it. Don't do it because logically you're going to create some damage for yourself. So, self, stop it. It's it's like people that think that discipline is bondage when really it gives you freedom,
Freedom.
you know?
Yeah. Because you can have the pain of regret or you can have the pain of the discipline. Either way, it's
Right.
gonna be pain.
Yeah.
Either one
This
is
is
work. I mean,
this is
even being
exactly that.
angry is work. Being
hmm
happy and positive is work. Being angry is work too. It's not any less work. It's the same amount of muscles.
It's somebody, social media has great wisdom. One of my friends, who I respect, posted something and it was saying, choose your heart. You know, it's hard to put boundaries so that you can create loving space and life, life for yourself. But choose your heart because the alternative is don't put boundaries and life's still going to be hard in a different kind of way.
Exactly.
So it's choose where you want to put the work in. If you put the work in this regard, then what begins to happen is my experience is more and more freedom comes to my life, but my life gets shaped into a way where my life is mostly loving experiences with people. And that's a different perspective to get up to the day with, you know? It's a
Right.
different it's a different feel to it. And is it been hard work? Absolutely. Dealing with my own self, being honest to myself and dealing with my own stuff is hard work. But the freedom that that's given me, like in hindsight, worth it, worth it, worth it. And that's part of the change that I want to affect in others. So being able to share this with you and indirectly being able, because we're sharing it in this way, being able to share this with others is just, one of the ways that I see I can impact the world around me. and create a more loving space. If it creates more love in your life, then my mission's accomplished, being accomplished, you know?
Exactly.
And so it is about sharing. This is the sharing of things that I'm not obligated to do anything to do with your healing. But if I have something that could help you and you're willing to learn, then it's goodwill. And so this becomes those kind of relationships that I ain't responsible for your healing, but it's goodwill to help you if you want to heal. And I know how I can help you do that.
Exactly.
And that's that give and take of community where it's not based on expectation. It's just goodwill that we want to share this because it helps someone else. And if someone wants to be helped and this can help them, well, then doggone it, we got a
Yeah,
win-win
work it.
situation.
Exactly. Because the thing is, you're living from a place of, I'm just living from a place of love. If you
Yeah.
decide to live from that same place, that's where you decide to live from. If you don't, then that's
Yeah.
what you decide to do as well. But I'm going to
Hey,
continue to
Marcy.
live from this place. And that's
Let me get him.
our relationships, or the relationships that you have in life, or the people that, again, because
5 minutes.
there's
5 minutes.
7 billion realities going on. Like, once
Yeah.
people start realizing that there is 7 billion different realities going on,
Yeah.
there's not like you have your reality, and no one else has your reality,
Come
because
on,
no
Marcy.
one else has been through what you've gone through in life. So their viewpoint is the same. You and someone else can come from the same exact neighborhood. Y'all
Yeah.
can live next door to each other. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, you and your siblings who are in the same exact home have a whole different reality.
Totally different.
People don't understand that. Like,
Yeah.
your parents, like y'all all, it could be 12 people living in one house, and that's 12 different realities going on in that
Exactly.
one household.
Exactly.
Once you start realizing that and start living life from that viewpoint, that everybody has their own separate reality and they have a right to their reality,
That's right.
all I can do is live in mine, then
5 minutes. All right, so any that's a good stopping spot. My daughter and my grandson are having intense fellowship in there,
right.
and so
So
I told them I will wrap it up so that I can come take over. He's wanting his mama to do something that she don't want to do, and he's
got
adamant
you.
that he wants her to do it. But let's get to a wrap up place. As you are going into this week, any questions with using the process? Because I want you to use it. I want you to use it every opportunity you have, because that lets you evaluate: is this impacting my life? Because don't waste time doing something that ain't impacting your life. Let me just be honest. Not to spare my feelings or nothing else. If it ain't working, it ain't a solution. And so I want you to make sure that you understand this so that you can use it in your life as often as your mind triggers you to think about using this. Any questions that I can answer, any clarity I can give
No,
before I
yeah,
set you back off into your week.
just run over the steps again.
All right, here's how we're going to do it. Step one: something happens. I feel some kind of way, and I stop myself and I say, what just happened? What are the facts? What happened? What did you do? And what did I do? Or what was happening around us at the time? Then stop. Let me be honest with myself. What am I feeling? Give myself as many words as I can of what I'm feeling. Pull up a word list, use my knowledge, use everything I've got, because as deep as I want to go is as deep as I'm going to go in these steps. How many details of what's happening can I come up with? What was I paying attention to? What was in the surroundings? Because everything is a part of our world. Was it too cold? Was I hungry? What time of day was it? And what was I feeling? Once I do that, give space for that. Then, what were the values expressed in your behavior? And what were the values expressed in my behavior? Which of these values do I agree with? And which of these values are in conflict or out of alignment with my value system? If I'm being totally honest. Once I know the values and I can now see which ones align and which ones don't, what has this cost me? What are my losses? What am I losing? What did I lose in this moments of interaction with you? And then how did I respond? What did I do? What did I do in this situation? And then we stop and we look at what did I do specifically? Because now I'm putting the lens on the part of this situation that I have some control over me. Was there anything that I did that aligned with my values? Was there anything that I did that conflicted? And once I am able to see that, what were the losses created specifically tied to my behaviors and my interaction with you as it aligns with my values? And then once you do that, we then go to the reflection. This is my dear self, dear self. And this is not from a place of judgment. This is not from a place of fear or anything that's tied to ego. This is how loving can I get with myself right now? Now that I have the facts of this situation laid out in front of me. Now, how do I talk to myself? How do I talk to myself in my most loving voice? Not judgment, not with a guilt trip, not beating me over the head, but how do I speak to myself now in a loving way as I look at this scenario of where I started out, who I thought I was as a person, what I thought I believed and what I thought I could live out in my beliefs. Who am I now after having had this experience? And what do I tell myself? What's my loving inner talk now? And I encourage people to do this in writing as often as possible. As often as possible, do it in writing so you have the ability to reflect and expand on the healing that this process can give you.
And
then once you're at that place, it's then sitting with this situation to see if you've come to your resolution, because that's the goal. It's resolution. That at the end of this process, we want you to have some resolve about the situation. It's the realization that I need some boundaries, and which boundaries am I going to choose to put in place or not? How do I speak to myself, especially when I've let myself down and created damage? How do I have a loving conversation with someone who's hurt me? Oh, wait, what if that someone is me? How do I speak in love to that? Because if I speak in anything other than love, I may cause further damage. And we want to avoid that. And so that's the process in a nutshell, as often and with as many interactions in your life as you can, because we're trying to develop some muscle memory. We're trying to develop the habit of thinking in ways that are healing versus the things that we've practiced, which are thinking through our damaged, addicted mindfulness. We're trying to create a new nature for ourselves.
Now,
That give clarity on the process in flow.
Yeah. Now your book is on Amazon. And all that process and how to work through it is in the book. Right?
There's a journal that I've done that will take you step by step. It'll even give you the blocks to be able to write in it. But I tell people, just use it as a template. Get your own notebook. You can go on Amazon. There's not many Lorana Hugheses. And if you search for healing conversations, how to have healing conversations, it's a $5 journal. It's because I didn't want people to have to bother me to get the information if they really need it. It's $5. And you can use that as your guide if you need to. And you can create your own format, however, but the process is really like the magic sauce of showing you how to do things in that order.
I know you gotta get off, but I saw a couple new people run in real quick. So just run through the process real quick, real fast.
All right. Step one, something happens in life and it ruffles your feathers. You feel some kind of way. We want to stop right then if you can. If not, get to safety. And this is a processing that we can do after the fact. But step one is what actually happened. Facts only. Facts only. What did you do? What did I do? What was happening around us? Just the facts. No judgment, no analysis, no thinking for other people, no reading other people's mind. What happened? In that next part of the process, as we're gathering facts, it's also your feelings, your emotions. Those are facts, even if they're not true. You can feel disrespected if nobody's done nothing to you. And so this is about expressing your emotions. Go online. We have technology. We're not going to stay in ignorance. Go find some word lists if you don't have the vocabulary. Go find some word lists that help you express what you're feeling and go as deep as you can. The next part of the process is once you've done that and you've given space for your emotions, and this is the I'm being totally honest with myself kind of work. So if you're not there, that's the starting point. Am I willing to be honest with myself? If not, this process ain't for you. Keep doing what you're doing. If it's working fine, it's probably not. But this is a process where you have to start with, I'm going to be totally honest with myself, or as honest as I have the capacity to be right now in my current state of healing. Once we've gathered the facts and the emotions, we now start moving into the rest of the data collection. And that is, what were the values expressed by your behavior? What were the values expressed by my behavior? What are the values? And then from there, we look at, these are the values. Did they are these values I agree with, or are these values that I'm conflicted with, that are out of alignment with my life and my value system? Which ones aligned? Which ones conflicted? And then what are the losses? What did this cost me? What did I lose? Maybe I lost some self-respect because my behavior wasn't in alignment. Maybe I lost some respect for you because of how you interacted with me. That went against the expectations that we set in our relationship from the beginning. And then we turn the tables to us. Let me go back and look one more time. What did I do again? What did I do? What did I do in this situation again? Let me be real specific now. What were the values that I conflicted in my behavior? And what were the values that I aligned with? Where did I match up and where did I go astray? And what were the losses that created? And so by the time you get to that step in the process, I now understand very clearly where you and I have had a ground zero of trauma, where our values have misaligned, but I also understand where I was a contributing factor to the trauma in my life. I now can see this clearly. I can now see this in truth. Some stuff you did and some stuff I did is making me worse right now. And at that point, we stop and say, now let's have a loving talk with ourselves. Now let's process this. Now let's talk to ourselves about getting some resolution for this situation. The past you can't undo. So some of the resolve is, I can't undo what's already been done. My resolve may be, I can go make amends. I can do differently next time. I can set some boundaries so that this opportunity for trauma doesn't happen again with someone who doesn't respect my values, or whatever comes from a loving place. But the last step is the resolve. How do I resolve this? And how do I have this conversation with myself? Dear self, in my most loving voice, let's resolve this now. And let's figure out how we go forward in life with this experience as part of our life curriculum. Did I
And the
miss any
book,
steps? Did I get
nope,
them
you
all?
did. Nope, and the book is on Amazon. And they
You
search it
can go
with.
to Amazon. You can look up Lorana Hughes. I think my link tree is also in the bio, Linktree/Lorana. And you can find it, but it's called Healing Conversations. It's just a small journal. It's a workbook that helps you have something in hand to be able to walk you through these steps. I encourage people to get a journal. I encourage people to do this process in writing. If you have a support person that's in your healing circle, your healing support circle, then this is a process that once you've done writing each of the steps, that you just simply share this in reading with others. Your support person. In the coaching environment, I usually am that first support person where we then do kind of the healing circle feedback loop. And that's another part of the process that we just won't go into. But for personal use, this is where once you've done this, it also gives you the tools to have conversation with the people in your life that may need to have some conversations after you do this resolution. To be
Got
able to say, this is what happened in our situation. And let me share with you how I felt. Now, let me share with you how this impacted me, how it conflicted with my values and created trauma for me. And let me share with you what my resolve is going to be. It creates the conversations for individuals to be able to have healing conversations, first with yourself, but then with others, because that's how I think we begin to change our community, our environment, the relationships that we have. This isn't just romantic relationships, it's every single relationship that we have. And these are the tools that I have found to be the most efficient route to get there, from a strategic standpoint, as a integrated community development planner kind of person. So it's how do we heal? How do we heal? And it starts with us in real ways. And as a solutionist, they have to be solutions that work in real life. This is not theoretical work. This is work that I have done in my own life. My damage is different than your damage, but to find a tool that says, and this tool can help my damage and your damage, even though they're two different things and two different experiences in life, is powerful for me. And so it's a tool that I stand behind because I know how much of a hot mess I used to be. I still got issues. I still got issues. And some people may think that I'm a hot mess on any given day, but I know the hot mess I used to be before I began really committed to this healing work. And this is a tool I use in my everyday life, literally. Literally, it has become my thinking process for how I do life. And let me tell you, it's been freeing. It's been freeing. Being able to come to my truth and be my truth, to live my truth, to say to people, this is, if I'm being totally honest, no, I don't want to do that. Being able to say things like that in my life, because that's the mantras I replay. If I'm being totally honest, what do I really mean? What do I really want to say? What am I really feeling? What do I really want to do? And what if I just went and did those things? And when those things end up being things that aren't loving, girl, you got some issues. Why would you want to do something that's not loving? Ooh, damage. Okay, are you committed to healing that damage? Yeah, let me go work on this because I just found a spot in my own life that's damaged. Let me go work on it. And I have the tools to do it. And so it has been powerful for me, and I have seen the transformation in my life. I've seen my life evolve where the fears few years ago, fears like, I'm in this hustle and grind because I'm afraid, if I'm being honest, and to realize that healing those fears, the life that's open, like literally I retired at 49. I left the country. I sold my stuff. I've gone to a country where I don't even speak the language. Like fear and like it be actually what I want to do. Like I'm going to just choose to do this. And yeah, there are dangers, but I'm not operating from my fears.
Right. Remember,
And
we gotta
that
get
is
to a
opening
stopping
up a
point there.
world that I couldn't have imagined until I began working on these areas of my life that were poisoning me, let alone the people around me that interacted with me. Because when you're damaged, that's what you do. You poison yourself and everybody else that comes in contact with you. A little bit of poison or a whole lot of poison just depends on the trigger. But changing that was about changing me and realizing a whole lot of my damage was me.
Right.
When I just stopped doing that, it was like, a whole lot of my stress and trauma in life goes away when I stopped doing the stuff to me. And it was just like, wait a minute. That person I have full control of. Self, let's get ourselves together. Self. Stop being the weakest link in your own life. Like, for real. If we're being honest, when I got to the point that I could be honest and look at myself in the mirror and say, girl, you're a hot mess. Are you going to work on it? What you going to do? What you going to do? Are you going to stay here or not? And it got to the point where life was intolerable in that way. I'm not going to keep doing life that way. Self. And began looking for solutions and realized that it's the same solution that we all need. And it has made a difference. So I'm passionate about this work because even though I enjoy the theoretical, this is practical solutions. This is the practical theology of spiritual work. Does it really work on the ground in real life for real and transform your life? And it has for me. It really has. And I'm grateful for solutions that work, because if life is only misery, that feels so hopeless to me. If all life is just one bad situation after another, and it's just pain and misery, and I don't want to live that. I don't want to do that every day on a hamster wheel. Well, that's it. I may not know what the solution is, but I sure ain't gonna do that every day. And this has been the key that's helped me to get out of that hamster wheel existence of life and move to a place where I can see myself living more true and authentic. And that is leaving space for life. It's like taking that out creates a void, but that just means I've got space now to put in things and people and interactions that feel loving. And that's been the value for me. And sharing that potential with others is something that I'm passionate about. And so being able to have these times like this and be able to share and then hear how it's impacting your life and moving you to that same place just in your existence, in your way, in your expression, is joy for me. And so doing things that give me joy is part of my mission in life. And so this is how I do it in ways that seem a little bit unconventional. But these are ways that for me is building that playground of people who can live in that paradigm. And that's my work. That's my passion. And so that's why I do what I do.
All right. I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Thank you for sharing your time, your experience. Let's see how that works for you this week.
Yep, definitely work on that.
and we'll hone it. We'll check in next week and see if you've got the process, because that's the point where I then say, okay, go on out there into the world and do that thing. It's practice it, because I want this to be first nature. So this week, practice those steps as often as you can to see if that flow kind of clicks, where it begins to become a pattern for you that you can follow with greater ease without doing too much thinking about, okay, which one was this step? Which one was that? Like, practice it so that this becomes kind of like your mental muscle memory. And then we'll check in next week and see how that's going.
Okay, I got you. See you next week.
Thanks so much. Take care. Thanks
All right, you
everyone
too.
for joining in and listening. Have a great week.
All right, bye bye.